welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Creighton Show. Today is another exciting day, another exciting guest. Let me tell you about the guest that we have coming on today. She has been through so much, from trauma, family drama, personal drama, and she was able to overcome. And today we're talking about the importance of a coach. I know what you're saying, Andre, not basketball, football, but we're talking about lifestyle coaching. And right now, that seems to be the trend that's just trending. It's lifestyle coaching. I guess somehow or another, we all need somebody to help us guide our life. Without further ado, by Zoom, I'd like to welcome to the show, Mary Nino. Did I get it right?
You got it. Mary Nino, yes.
Mary with the I and not the Y.
Exactly. Just it sounds the same, just spelled different.
So let's get right into it. Tell the viewers a little bit about Mary Nino.
Well, I appreciate you having me on here. My name is Mary Nino. I'm a life coach with a pretty special niche that's a little difficult to talk about at times. I'm from Visalia, California, so we're smack dab in the middle of California. We don't have the beach in our backyard, but we're pretty close to it. I like I said, life coach. My niche is trauma, suicide, and addiction.
So with that said, what exactly, without getting too technical, what exactly is a lifestyle coach? And then what makes your expertise suicide and addiction?
So a life coach is somebody that, and it's a holistic life coach. We work with the whole body. You know, it's mind, spirit, mind, spirit, and how we work through our life. So my niche, my trauma, suicide, and addiction is something because it's what I've been through in my life. Came from a very traumatic childhood. Suicide was part of my life at a young age. My father committed suicide when I was 11. I attempted suicide at 33. And to overcome those things and to be able to give back is what this whole entire coaching is about for me. It's helping other people get through it and get to the other side.
You mentioned, it's funny when we talk about trauma, and the more that I research and into my own, not nobody else's, because I think it first starts with yourself.
Absolutely.
Everything starts in our childhood.
Yeah.
Whether it's been generational passed down or whatever, but it starts in the childhood. You said it started in your childhood. Take me down briefly what your childhood was like.
Well, in a brief bullet points, I was the product of an affair. So my shame and guilt started in the womb. And I know that's people go, it sounds a little crazy, but it really does. So the cortisol that my mom was feeling was fed through me. Sexually molested when I was 5 years old by two different people. And then to have a father that was addicted to drugs, really had a rough life himself and put us through a lot of abuse. And then to commit suicide when I was 11 years old. For me, it was all I knew. But that traumatic childhood of when you're being the most developed, right? That's when we learn how to deal with problems and issues, and where we feel validated and loved is in those young years. And I didn't have any of that.
When you mentioned 5 years old, what happened at 5 years old? What led up to that tragic moment at 5 years old, and how do you cope with that at 5?
I didn't cope with it for a lot of years. And that's where the trauma response and my trajectory of my life got shifted. Didn't know how to cope with it. It was shame, right? I was 5 years old, and there was a high school boy that was his parents were friends with my parents, and made me feel like I had this crush on him at a young age, and he took advantage of that. And by being sexually molested at that age, because there's a really weird feeling about it, because and not to be explicit, but sexual things feel good, right? It's a feel good to your body. And at a young age, that's a very weird thought to have. And I thought it was an okay thing. I thought he liked me. It took me years to realize that put me on a trajectory for a crash course of making bad choices and not truly cherishing my body and taking care of my body and who I was. And I didn't really deal with it till I was in my 30s. My mom didn't know about it. I didn't tell anybody about it because there was so much shame around it. And that's what we see a lot of kids that go through trauma, especially sexual trauma like that. there's a shame behind it, and there's a secrecy behind it. It's 90% of the time it's somebody that you know and trusted. And I just, I didn't feel protected. I didn't feel valid. I felt like I wasn't enough. And when I go through all my therapy and everything that I've been through in my life, my foundation is I wasn't enough.
So he was high school. So what, 17, 16?
17, because he was driving. Yeah, I was 5 years old. I was a baby.
How does somebody 17 manage to
Have that
groom? How
time.
do you groom a 5-year-old and
Well, when
your parents don't see it?
parents were like I said, my father was a drug addict and an alcoholic, and they were doing their own thing, doing their own, partying or whatnot. So we had a lot of time alone. Nobody paid attention to it. We weren't, like I said, I wasn't protected. My parents had their own issues.
Tell
So
me
it left
about
me
the issues with your
vulnerable.
parents. Let's go back a minute so we can get a clairvoyancy. Tell me about your parents. So that's where it starts. You didn't have
Absolutely.
the guidance. So take me from what you know. What was your parents like?
My mom, who's still alive, is had her own issues with my dad. So my dad, drug addict, very physically abusive to us as well as her. Put on a really good front for everybody. On the outward side, everybody, you'd walk in a room, everybody loved him. So he had this secret life that he led. The drugs, the affairs, the abuse was just part of it. Now I will say, in his own childhood, he was raped by his father several times and by his father's friends. So he had no foundation. When you talk about generational trauma, this is truly what it was. It was passed down from generation to generation. And it broke my life. It made me be a little child that was vulnerable and taken advantage of, and didn't really have the ability or the skill set at 5 years old to express that, right, to have that conversation. And when your parents aren't paying attention to what's happening, it happens. So as a parent, it's a very, it's a very important position in a child's life, is to have a parent that's paying attention to what's going on, not dealing with their own issues. And I struggled with that.
You mentioned your father being traumatized by being molested himself.
Yes.
Did he know the perpetrators that did this? Were
Yeah.
they family, friends?
It was his father, and then it was his father's friends.
How did how as you got older, how did he deal with it? Did he share this with your mom?
No,
Or did he
actually,
live in a code of silence for
yeah,
years?
code of silence, absolutely. I learned about it when I was in my mid-20s. My dad's sister, who is still alive, shared, because my dad committed suicide, there's all these questions, right? Why? What happened? What was going on? He was 34 years old. My aunt shared with me when I was age appropriate. Obviously, I was in my 20s when she told me. She shared with me the trauma that they had as kids. And it gave me a little bit of insight of why my dad was so screwed up. I mean, really. And in the 80s, men didn't talk about being weak.
Yeah. When you first found out, you still holding on to a skeleton in the closet, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you're trying to navigate. How difficult is it to navigate now after you've been violated by someone that you thought, let's get real, you was craving attention, but that still doesn't justify what he done. So at
No.
5 years old, you was craving what the parents were not giving you. So as you realized that this wasn't appropriate, how do you begin to navigate going into your 20s?
Well, for many years I was numb. I was just surviving, right? I was going through life just trying to get validation, trying to get attention, still in my 20s, trying to get people to love me, because I did not love myself.
So
Now
when you
that's
say validation, not to cut you off, because people need to
complete.
understand, you was promiscuous, different men, were you
Oh,
seeking satisfaction through different men? Tell me how you
sure.
was really doing this.
I was looking for attention from men. Absolutely. Now I have a very complicated story. I struggled with weight for many, many years. I had the gastric bypass surgery and got very skinny, and was just, this attention came to me that I've always been looking for. Right. And it's not, like you said, it's not a really pretty thing to talk about, but it was. And I was dating and trying to get men to fulfill that piece of me that was broken, and that was never really filled properly. And I went into a marriage that I was married for 15 years, and it was very abusive, traumatic marriage. And then, but at the same time, I wasn't healthy. I
Right.
didn't know how to love. I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't know how to handle all of this stuff that was happening.
What was your life like going through the trauma,
Mhm.
being overweight? What was it like for you then trying to seek attention? Then after the shift, you still didn't deal with that problem, but now you're probably getting more attention from guys, but you still got that skeleton in the closet. What's Tell me about the two transformations, what it was like looking for love during the overweight stage and still dealing with that, going into the new transformation, the gastric bypass, but you're still dealing with the skeleton in the closet. Take the viewers down there because you're dealing with two parts of your life, trying to
Oh
be
man.
accepted, love, but let's be real. We look at our eyes first. And if you see somebody that's overweight, you're not gonna go that way. If you see somebody a little bit skinnier, blah blah blah, it's a different ball game. Take me down that road.
Well, I was trying to feed that validation with anything, whether it was, drinking, drugs in my 20s, looking for, like you said, promiscuity, dating, sexual relationships that weren't healthy. It was a scary place to be, and I was barely surviving. And that's when not taking care, and I talk in my coaching, I talk about that, dealing with that the inner demons, the inner issues, all those things are going to create an opportunity for you to really look inside. And most people don't want to look inside. They don't want to take the time to look. So we spend a lot of time on the outside, right? For me, it was working a lot, these relationships outside of myself, trying to find somebody to validate me, but I didn't love myself. The transformation came over the last about 5 or 6 years as I started to really wonder, how the hell am I getting through this? My attempt to commit suicide when I was 33 was an eye opener, but it wasn't the rock bottom for me. My marriage failed, and I was alone. I was having to really deal with myself, and it was a scary place to be. But by the grace of God, I had the right people come into my life that helped me start to gain some skills and to understand that I had to work on me. I had to take care of Mary, and I had to love Mary. And I did. We all say that, you got to love yourself first before you love somebody else. It's not very easy to do, especially when the inside of what I was trying to love was really ugly to me.
When
And
did when did the thought of suicide enter your mind? Now you don't have the gastro bypass. You did a complete makeover.
Mhm.
Why suicide? What led to that aspect?
I truly believed that my children would be better off without me.
Give me an
I believe
example. What happened that led you to even think that way? You got kids.
I got kids because I was drinking. I was miserable. I was miserable. I didn't feel that I could give anybody anything. And that goes back to not taking care of me, right? And all of this trauma that led up to that place. And I believe, and I'm a believer in God, and I believe that God gave me the ability to see where my dad was when he took his life. I believe that he took me to that brink of wanting to end my own life so I could understand where my dad really was. Because there's a lot of hurt and anger when you lose a parent to suicide. Why wasn't I enough? Why couldn't you stick around? Why didn't you get better? All those things, right? And to be on that brink of taking my own life. And mind you, when somebody's at that brink of suicide, and I can say this because I was there, it's so dark. It's so dark. And the option is all this pain will go away if I just do it.
Mm.
This is a very touchy subject, and people get really pissed off at me when I talk about it because I'm very vocal about it. But I get it, right? I get it. All that pain will go away because healing, it's not fun. It's not pretty. It hurts. It's a lot of crap to go through, but you have to go through it to get to this joy where I'm at today. And by the grace of God, I didn't, fulfill the suicide attempt. I was able to figure out some opportunities. And like I said, that was 33. I'm 47 today. So it's been a minute. It took me a little while. And healing is not a straight journey.
How
It's a very
angry were you with your dad's death?
Oh, I was mad. I was mad. He missed the birth of my children. He missed my marriage. He missed all these things in life. And don't get me wrong, I have an amazing stepdad that my mom married when I was 13 years old that showed me what love was really about. But I still didn't love myself, right? So you can have all these people in your life that are loving you, but if you can't love yourself, it makes it a really hard transition. It makes it a really hard spot. But like I said, I made it to a place in my life. I was around 40 when I started really digging in deep to me. I started a therapy that's called DBT therapy. It's dialectical behavior therapy that taught me skills to change my thinking. Because at the end of the day, even in sobriety, it's still my brain I'm dealing with. It's still my issues I'm dealing with. And so to change that thinking is what turned me from surviving, walking through life numb, not really understanding what my trauma responses were, why I did the things I did, why I made the choices I made, to really thriving. I went from surviving to thriving, and it was work.
What
But
were
that's
some of the things you had to change in your thinking? You said that the therapy gave you tools to
yeah.
reprogram your thinking. What was your thinking before and your thinking now? What's a day like waking up for you now?
Oh, life is beautiful today. When I get up in the morning, I have an affirmation I listen to. It's about a 20-minute affirmation because I have my own coach that my coach and I did that reminds me of who I am, why I'm here, that I am successful, I am loved, I am perfect just the way I am. That just because as a child I didn't get those fulfillments, right? I didn't have that ability to think that I didn't get to be a child. And so my affirmations remind me of that on a daily basis. I listen to it every morning, and it gives me, like you said, it's that positive thinking when you get up in the morning. I'm every day's different. Every day you're going to have crap that gets thrown at you during the day. That's life, right?
Mm.
But I go through life now knowing, okay, can I change that? Nope. Can I do anything about it? Some things I can, some things I can't, and I'm okay with that. So
Mhm.
what my therapy taught me, just to wrap that around, is that it taught me to understand what I do have control over, what I don't have control over, and how to let go of the things I can't. Letting go is huge.
You have a son,
I do. I have two boys
2 boys.
and a daughter, but my oldest is the one we've had some struggles
Let's just
with.
put it a different way. You have a big family now.
I do.
You're a happy family.
I do. I'm blessed. I'm absolutely blessed.
What do you take from your life, your journey, and bring it into
Mm,
your new life? And what do they tell you that they go through that you navigate them with your skills?
absolutely. So, my children were 5, 6, and 12, and their dad and I divorced. So they've had some issues they've had to deal with. But being where I'm at today, I'm able to love them right where they are. They're able to be kids. They're able to have questions and navigate their own life, right? Be able, but in a safe environment. I
Mhm.
always say it's so nice that your kids can be and they can come home and have attitudes and have the things that they have at home because they're safe. It's a safe place to be upset. They're kids. They're navigating our world right. Our world's pretty crazy right now. They've
Mhm.
had to live through COVID. They were younger when that happened. Um, I'm able to step back and let them be kids and let them find their way and know that they can come to mom if there's an issue. That's my biggest thing with my kids is that I hope that when something, when crap hits the fan or there's an issue or there's a problem or you make a bad decision, that that you call mom first. Mom's going to help you get through it. Mom's going to help you understand it. We're going to figure it out. We're going to get to the other side of it. I didn't have that. I didn't have that at a young age.
Are you worried about generational trauma?
Absolutely. Because I
At
gave it to them.
huh?
I gave him a little bit. I gave him a little bit of it. They were, mind you, this is so about the last 7 years, I've been in a healthier environment. So at 14, 15, and 21, they've had to deal with that younger years of mom not being mentally present, right? I was physically there, but I wasn't all there. I was drinking a lot. I wasn't doing the right things. I wasn't making the best choices. They've had to navigate that. Now I'm fully 100% honest with them when it comes to my struggles, and they know they've watched mom overcome. They've watched mom get better. They've watched mom make better choices. They see mom in a marriage now that is beautiful and healthy and loving. And to touch base on that, I'm remarried, and they love their stepdad. They see what marriage is really about. They see the joy. Their memories of their dad and I is ugly.
Mhm.
It's not a pretty place to be. So yes, I do worry about the generational trauma but the good thing is I'm breaking that cycle. I consider myself a cycle breaker.
When you talk about your family, your kids, and you are a lifestyle coach, you deal with trauma and
Yes,
suicide.
yes.
Has any of that ever have you ever witnessed it in your own home? The suicidal parts, the trauma part, and more importantly, how did you navigate? Because it's an old saying, if you do this, it usually starts in your house. How do you let me rephrase it. Take me down a dark place that maybe one of your kids, without getting too personal, have
Sure.
went through when you used your skills from experience and a life coach to navigate them. Because I think people need to understand that aspect. How do you take them from a particular part of their life and navigate it to current?
Sure. I have a son that struggles with suicide. He's doing great now, but we had a really rough time for a little while. And like I said, I believe that God brought me on this path so that I could have some relatability to him. And that's exactly what I did. You know, he was getting from outside sources, you know, why would you do that? Why would you put people through that? You know, the whole guilt part of it. And I was able to say, son, I understand. I know the feeling. And I know what you're thinking. Not that I know what he was thinking, but I could relate to what he was thinking. And I think that helped him. I helped him to open up, to be able to voice things to me and say things to me that you can't say to other people. That's one thing I say, and you'll notice on my website it says that I give people a place to say the things that nobody else wants to hear. It's a safe place, and so being a coach, it's given me the skills to have that for my kids, to give them a safe place to voice the thoughts that come into their head that, you know, realistically people don't like to say. Talking about suicide is not a comfortable conversation.
What do you tell parents that two-part question?
Sure.
I'm a parent.
Yes.
What signs should I look at when in my child to avoid this or to at least see it?
Awareness.
And then what should I do? What, how should I really approach my kid?
Well, and here's the hard part with children right now. They're so connected with the outside world, you know, social media, all those things, right? So watching behaviors, you know, watching things change. You know, most kids have a routine, and if that routine starts to change, they start to try to express things in a manner that are unfamiliar with you, and asking questions. I don't have a problem asking my son, are you thinking about suicide? What's going on? What's going on in your head right now? And I say the actual word suicide. People will, you know, you have to say unalive on social media for them not to take it off or to block you.
You have to
And
say what on social media?
unalive, like they'll have to say unaliving. They don't suicide when you put suicide in your social media bios and whatnot. They will block you. You know, some of the social media platforms will take you off. And so
Really?
I realize that it's not a common word to use in life, but I use it. My kids, we talk about it. My kids know their grandfather committed suicide. They know that we talk about it. They know that mom attempted suicide. We have these conversations. I do tell parents that don't have that in their lives, because there are some people that's not an option, right? They just have it's never been touched in their lives. For me, my dad made it an option because it was he committed suicide. So I know that. So the conversations, you have those conversations, you talk to their kids. They have friends. I promise you, your children know somebody that committed suicide or know somebody that knew somebody that committed suicide. It's just like addiction. It's out there. It's prevalent. It's happening. And if we don't talk about it, who are they going to talk to? Who are they going to get their advice from?
Let's go back a minute before we wrap up. Let's go back a minute. Let's talk about the trauma that your dad went through. And I'm sorry your dad committed suicide. I'm not going to be saying I understand, because I never had that in my life, but I know it must be hard.
Absolutely.
It happened to him by his father and family members. Your grandfather.
Yes.
Were you around your grandfather during this phase before your father passed? Your father
Very,
shielded you from this, knowing that this happened to him.
very small amounts. I got to see my grandfather. I can remember a couple of very specific incidences where we would go up to visit, and the visits never ended nice. I mean, the last visit with my grandfather, and I was so young. My dad, obviously you know, in my very, very young, you know, probably I remember visiting my grandfather 3 to probably 6, 7 years old. But we would go up, we would visit with him. We were never alone with him. My dad and him always ended up in a fight because they would drink. There would be a big blowout and we ended up leaving. That was our visits to my grandfather's house. So I never was with my grandfather alone. And I like to believe that my father did that on purpose. Obviously, I've never had to have that. I never got to have that conversation with my dad because I didn't know about the relationship that my grandfather molested my father until after my dad had passed. But I like to believe that he shielded us from that on purpose, with the limited skills that he had as a
Right.
parent. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question. You mentioned something that was really, really, really profound. You have a coach.
I do have a coach.
Why do you feel it's important for you to have a coach, even though you're a lifestyle coach?
Oh, I think it's imperative because the topics that I work on, and I think most coaches have coaches, right? Because we deal with people on a very emotional level.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely have tendencies for codependency. I want to help everybody. I think that's part of my trauma responses as a child. But I have a coach that keeps me in check, that makes sure that my mental health is in a good place, that makes sure that I'm in a good position to help other people. Because it's a daily, it's a daily, and I don't want to say chore, it's a daily exercise for me. It's just like people that go to the gym every day. I probably should go to the gym a little more than I do. So I probably need one of those coaches as well. But it makes sure that I'm in the right place to help people. Because if I'm not mentally healthy or in the right place, I'm not going to do anybody any good. So my coach keeps me on track, make sure that I'm continuing to heal. Because this is a lifelong journey. It's just
Right.
like exercise. It's not you don't just fix it and then life is good. It's a constant change and constant growth.
What's your end game?
My end game
You've
is
been through so much. Seriously, you've been through so much, and I appreciate you bringing that to not only my attention, but to allow me to share your story to the world. Because this is what I tell people: everybody has a story, but
everybody.
only way you're going to be able to heal is to come out of the closet and share it. And you might inspire somebody else, but nobody can tell their story better than you. What's next for you?
I'm working on creating some curriculum right now that I can train on go and do trainings for people that deal with trauma, suicide, and addiction. Right now, I'm doing a lot of one-on-one coaching. I would like to take it to the next level, and I'm working on a book. I believe my story will help somebody, and if I can help one person, then my pain was worth it.
Let me ask another question real quick. What are the numbers? Are there any numbers to show how this is rising, or has it with
Oh,
down
coaching?
with the therapy, with coaching, suicide, with different age groups? I mean, have the numbers elevated since COVID, or have, because now the therapy sessions is opening up more and coaches like yourself are coming out and addressing this, have the numbers gone down? What have you noticed in the last couple of years?
I believe numbers are rising. COVID has definitely brought out a different side of people, and the struggles were real. The difference, and just a real quick difference between coaching and counseling. So, counseling, a licensed counselor, I have much respect for them. There is a place where I become an advocate for them, right? So my job as a coach is to work with today. We're going to work with what's going on today. We're going to get you skills in line to be better for tomorrow. And so it's that type of coaching. Counseling goes really deep into the past and diagnosing mental health. So we work together to create a good place for people. The numbers are astronomical. And I think we're opening up some wounds. We have a lot of people out there, and I'm talking our teenagers through our mid-20s are they're so connected with the world
Right.
that they have coping skills, and we don't teach them coping skills. I think it should be taught in school, honestly. I think, because coping skills, that's where drugs and alcohol come into place. People can't deal with things that are happening, so they numb it. There's workaholics, there's sex addicts, there's a lot of addictions. I teach a class on Mondays to other coaches that's about addiction, and that's called a process addiction versus a substance addiction, and it's prevalent. It's out there. There's a lot of functioning people out there. There's a demographic between 35 to about 55 that they're making it. Their kids are going to school, they're clothed, they've got a house, they've got a good job, all these things, but when they lay their head down at night, they're miserable. And there's only so long that's going to happen. It's going to affect the people around you. It's going to affect how you're a parent. It's going to affect your job. So getting people in a good mental health place and just being able to have a safe place to talk is important. And that's what a coach does, is we create a safe place for people to come and to feel validated. And we have the answers within us. We really do. My job is to help you find those.
I'm gonna have you do something that I think you and only you can do. Close out this show of the Andre the Beast Creighton Show with something positive.
You know what? Every day when you wake up, people take a moment, realize your blessings, find the things that you're grateful for. And when life gets rough, right? When that day gets tough, go back to those blessings. Remember why you got up today. So with that being said, if you want to continue this conversation, please look me up, give me a call, shoot me an email, shoot me a DM. I would love to have this conversation continue. social media platforms, maryninocoaching.com. So I would love, love, love to continue this conversation. I think we all need to have it. And I want to be someone to be vocal about it.
Mary, thank you so much for being on the show. I am blessed. I hope your message, I will make sure this message gets out. Please support her, call her. If you have any problems or you see signs in your kids or signs within yourself, please reach out, people. Resources are out there. This has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Creighton